The OnePlus 6 has already been replaced by the OnePlus 6T this time around, and while the 6T is getting tons of great reviews, there are a few reasons why you might want the 6 over the 6T. The headphone jack and the slightly cheaper price that is bound to go even lower as little time passes. Both the 6 and the 6T are nearly identical in specs, storage, and the 6T has a slightly bigger screen and smaller notch, with the same camera modules. So, is the OnePlus 6 still worth it? Short answer is yes, but with the asterisk at the end. Let's talk about that.
This video was made possible with the help of PureVPN. This is a VPN service that will keep your browsing data secured and away from your service provider or other snoopers. Make your browsing safer today with your affiliate link in the description.
The exterior design consists of glass for the majority of the build, including the front and the back of the device. The corners are made out of a very subtle aluminum. This device feels very premium, and the glass on the back has a matte texture that makes it easier to hold than most glass phones. The build quality is awesome for the price. On the front, we've got a 6.28-inch AMOLED 2280 by 1080 resolution display and a 16 megapixel front-facing camera that supports a resolution of up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. On the back, we've got the OnePlus logo and both rear-facing cameras, with one being 16 megapixels and the other 20 megapixels, supporting a resolution of up to 4K at 60 frames per second. On the right, there's a sleep-wake button. On the left, there's a volume rocker and the SIM card tray. On the bottom, there's a single speaker and a USB connector and a headphone jack. This device features a 6.28-inch 2280 by 1080 AMOLED display that does look quite nice but isn't particularly exceptional. The colors are reasonably vibrant by default, but it isn't very exaggerated, which some people might prefer. Just like on the iPhone XS, you can reduce the size of the image when watching videos to not show a notch, or expand it to use as much of the screen as possible. The notch is so small that I think I prefer using it this way, but for normal use I prefer going without it. Aside from that, content is very enjoyable through this display and is reasonably sharp. It's quite nice. The speaker for a single module is actually decently loud. It's reasonably clear and has little bass, but it's decent for watching content. However, because it's at the bottom of the phone, it's pretty easy to cover up and doesn't quite stack up with the stereo set of most flagships. Either way, it is a decent speaker. The front-facing camera is pretty awesome and certainly does a good job when putting it against this year's flagships, but I'd say that it does fall behind these in the long run. Images are reasonably sharp and colorful, so I certainly wouldn't complain about its performance in this segment. The rear-facing camera is noticeably better than the one used on the OnePlus 5T last year, and is a significant improvement over it, I'd say. Both videos and pictures look sharp, colors look vibrant, and the OnePlus does not fail to capture tons of detail even in low-light situations. I'm very happy with the results on this device. This phone features a Snapdragon 845 CPU, an Adreno 630 GPU, 6GB of RAM, and 64GB of storage. As to the real-time performance of this device in games, we tested a Game Boy Advanced emulator to play Final Fantasy Tactics. It unsurprisingly runs well and gameplay is very smooth. There isn't any sort of hitching or stuttering in this game or any other using an emulator. If you're wondering about non-emulated games, those also perform very well on the Snapdragon 845. Performance in Geekbench did net us significant improvements in comparison to last year's Snapdragon 845 processors. After a few minutes of waiting for Geekbench to finalize, the OnePlus 6 scored 2331 in single-core performance and 8804 in multi-core performance. The OnePlus 6 has a 3300 mAh battery that will last quite a while. This phone will easily last through the day and have battery to spare, even when you're doing more intensive stuff. However, when gaming or watching videos, the battery life will be reduced to about 5 or 6 hours depending on what you're doing. For the simple stuff, this phone is very resilient. Usability wise, this phone is quite nice. You can switch between using gestures or using on-screen buttons. Gestures not being my thing, I tried to stick to the on-screen buttons. The phone, despite being so large, is still usable for people with small hands, but would require the use of both hands if that's the case. The texture on the phone makes it grippy enough so that it does not slip often, and the shape is quite nice. This phone is very fast, even faster than my Pixel 2 thanks to its Snapdragon 845 processor and the addition of RAM. It's time to give you a list of my complaints, though it is a rather small list. First, the lack of wireless charging despite the glass back. I don't understand why they would compromise the build quality of the phone by replacing their signature aluminum backings with a glass panel if they weren't going to add wireless charging. Wasted opportunity, even with the current OnePlus 6T. Secondly, the screen could be a little better. The Google Pixel 2's display is noticeably better than the 6's, with more vibrant colors. I do feel that the OnePlus 6 loses out a bit here. Lastly, no expandable storage. Not everyone will dual SIM cards, so I believe that they should sell with a SIM and microSD card and another with just a dual SIM to make up for that. With that said, this is quite an awesome phone for the price. Now that we've fully reviewed this device, we're ready to conclude this video. This phone is pretty awesome, though it's no longer the newest OnePlus device of the year, with the OnePlus 6T being released so soon after. The 6T, if you were curious, is definitely better than the 6 and hardly costs anything more than the 6. I mean, the 6T has a smaller notch, a brighter display, a bigger battery, and a few more bells and whistles. This does come at the cost of the headphone jack, which to some is considered a huge loss. Aside from that, in terms of specs and camera quality, the OnePlus 6 and the 6T are identical, and even in design this is true. So here's what I have to say. If you want a headphone jack, then buy the 6. If you don't care, then buy the 6T. The differences in price between the two is a non-issue for the most part, and it really does just come down to that headphone jack at the end of the day.
PureVPN. They offer safe browsing across any web browser while keeping your browsing data away from your internet service provider or any other snoopers. They offer unlimited data transfer from streaming or downloading. They have more than 2,000 servers in over 140 countries and work through desktop and mobile apps. You can also stay active on 5 different devices at once from the same account with 24/7 tech support. To get yourself signed up, click on the affiliate link in the description.
For more content, make sure to subscribe to our channel and stay updated when a new video comes out. Make sure to click that bell and enable notifications. For links to everything featured in this video, expect to find those in the description. This has been Nicholas from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you all later. Enjoy.